In last week's episode of my solo road trip across New Zealand, I summited Ismith Peak and Roy's Peak in the same day. In this week's episode, I make my way through from Wanaka to the stunning Fiordland National Park, where I enjoy the beautiful scenery, attempt the Kepler Track with a rather disastrous outcome, and then get semi-stranded in the middle of Fiordland as a massive thunderstorm rolls through with over 300mm of rainfall in one day. I hope you enjoy the highs and the lows of this episode and subscribe to join me along the journey. After having a rather strenuous day of hiking totaling over 30 kilometres of walking, I had a slow morning in Wanaka, watching some of the bad weather roll in, before heading down to one of my favourite camping spots in the whole country, the Kingston Freedom Camp. Situated at the bottom of Lake Wakatipu, this free camping site offers near on the same view as the multi-million-dollar houses in Queenstown do. I absolutely love this spot, and it was the perfect place to recover. I had been planning to do the Kepler for a while, but obviously, as it was still the off-season, I was trying my best to work around the weather so I didn't get caught out. Therefore, I spent an extra day relaxing and made some epic meals in the van, fueling myself up to walk the Kepler.
Absolutely one of the best things I've ever made. Probably in my life, not even just in the van, but definitely in the van. I've been meaning to read this for a long time because it came out over a decade ago. I just wasn't that interested, and then I was like, oh, it's set on the west coast. I know where everything in this book is because I've been there. So I was like, oh, I'll read it, and it's actually really good, so definitely would recommend. It's not as big as it looks either, because the printing is quite big, like the words are large, so I'd recommend this if you haven't read it. I think it's really good. It's also a great New Zealand book. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, my favourite place name in all of New Zealand, in the whole country, Ethel.
The Kepler is a 60-kilometre loop track located at the bottom of Lake Tianau. I had a day of good weather to do the ridgeline section, and then some bad weather was meant to roll in, but luckily I would be down at the bush in low elevations. It was a gorgeous day, and I felt like I was off to a pretty good start. fair bit of hill climb to make it towards Luxmore Hut, and I was a bit surprised to see that there was more snow up there than I thought there would be. I had checked the avalanche forecast as well as the weather forecast, and whilst the avalanche danger was ranked 4 or high, the areas I would be traversing were mainly on the northwestern aspect where there wasn't supposed to be any avalanche danger. However, I didn't take into account one major thing, which is that snow will accumulate on given aspects of a track. As I passed the first rescue shelter, I started to get a little bit nervous, but figured I would be okay to push on and that all I had to do was make it to the next rescue shelter. The wind for the next day was forecasted at 100 to 120 kilometers per hour, and I obviously wanted to be well off the ridge by then. However, about halfway between the two rescue shelters, I looked ahead and saw that the next section of the track was prime avalanche terrain, and that I would be traversing across a completely exposed ridge with massive drops either side. I didn't really want to head back as I had already crossed about 6 avalanche paths.
So I pulled my PLB. I'm like stuck halfway. I don't think I'm gonna make it, and I'm just really scared, and I need some help getting out.
I ended up pulling my PLB, and it was definitely the logical decision to make, as otherwise I would have been stuck up in the rescue shelter for at least 4 to 7 days. The guys who came to rescue me in the helicopter were absolutely lovely and told me that I was extremely sensible for having pulled my PLB based on the conditions.
I got helicoptered out of the Kepler yesterday, and stayed at a campground, paid one for the night. Not super stoked about it. Hopefully the weather's going to clear up towards the end of next week and I'll be able to give it another go, with a lot less snow, hopefully. But yeah, we're just going to take a couple of easy chill days, and not going to Milford today because the road's closing at 5 p.m. And I won't get to go there at all, basically. And the rain is meant to be heinous tomorrow, probably like 100 millimeters, which is absurd. I'm a bit wrecked though anyway, so I'm going to just drive to one of the dock campgrounds along the way, hole up there for the day, and then probably go into Milford on the Friday. Hopefully the weather's better then. But yeah, that's the action plan, and so let's go driving.
As someone who's explored the whole country, I can truly say that Fiordland National Park as well as Mount Cook Aoraki National Park are the two best places in the country by a nautical mile. There is nothing else like them, and they are absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, once again, the weather caught me out. The first night I was out there, a massive thunderstorm rolled in. The thunder was so strong that it echoed through the valleys and even shook the ground slightly. 328 millimeters of rain fell in Milford Sound that day, and I'm not surprised at all.
So I definitely look like a drowned rat, but this is my update for today. It's probably going to be the only update. Is that I'm out in Fiordland and it's like a middle of a thunderstorm. Started last night. Kind of the thunder and lightning seems to have eased off. It really freaked me out. It sounded like a full-on sonic boom, and I was like ruling out all the ways that I could die to kind of like convince myself to go to sleep, which was that I'm too far away from an avalanche or a landslide to kill me because I'm in the valley, so it would be very difficult for that to happen. I'm not likely to get struck by lightning because I've kind of parked under the trees and it doesn't seem like that likely a spot to get struck. The river's not going to flood because I'm too far up for that to happen. I'm not going to get stuck because the road's good enough. I'm not going to, the lake above is not going to overflow and come down here because this isn't a floodplain. I'm also slightly elevated, so none of these things are going to kill me, even though there's like a maybe like meter rain forecasted. It seems to have eased off though. The worst seems to have been overnight, but everyone else is leaving now and I'm the only person here, and now I'm scared. So I'm not scared, I'm fine. It's just water. because the lightning seems to have stopped. But at any rate, that's my update. I'm just reading books today and seeing, hopefully the weather finds up tomorrow. Yeah, thanks for listening to my TED Talk.
Even though it was pretty scary, it was also a pretty amazing experience, and it reminded me of the absolute power of Mother Nature. As humans, we like to think we're in control of everything, but as soon as you go to a place where nature reigns, you're reminded so quickly that there are so many things outside your control. However, I tried to make the best of it and spent most of my time reading books and waiting to go to Milford Sound.
Had a bit of time on my fingers healed up, so I figured I would play a song in the rain, extremely appropriate for the location we're in, and the current weather, like Real People Do by Hosier, even though I haven't played guitar in like 6 to 8 months, because I stopped when I started playing piano, but let's just have a go anyway. We'll try another Hosier. Hopefully I can play it again. Let's see how we go.
In next week's episode of the Grand New Zealand Road Trip, I head through to one of the most stunning areas in the whole world, Milford Sound, which personally I still think is a bit overrated, but we'll ignore that. I spend a day exploring the beautiful sound, go for a few walks, including the start of the Fiordland Track, and then begin to make my way back out of Fiordland. I hope you'll subscribe to join me on the journey, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Cheerio!